Most real estate agents right now are struggling to get even their first few listings. You guys are scared of the phones. You guys don't know what to say to sellers. And sometimes it feels like the market is completely against you. But today, I have some good news. I'm sitting down with one of my top students who completely flipped that script and narrative. Victor Yagudaev is a young agent from Cleveland, Ohio, who went from struggling to get traction. And by the way, in the last 12 months, he closed over 20 deals. And now, because of the skills and connections he built with the help of the community inside, he's made the jump into a bigger, more expensive market in Tampa, Florida. In this conversation, we're going to bring everything that Victor is doing right now to generate leads, how he's elevated his communication skill sets to consistently booking listings, and the tactical steps that you right now watching this video as a new agent can use in your own market to start winning right away. So if you guys have ever felt stuck in real estate, you're not sure how to break through and start consistently signing listings, this is an episode you don't want to miss. Let's get into it. Victor, my brother, how are you? I'm happy to have you here. Let's do it, bro.
Let's go, Alexis. I appreciate you for having me as well. Looking forward to sharing my story and being able to help out any other agents out there who kind of feel stuck. As you know, man, I was in that same position just like most people are right now. Whether you're producing at a level or if you're a brand new agent and you have no clue what to do at this point, right?
Yeah, so that's what we want to do, man. We want to shed some light on
Sure.
your story. I want to make this all about you, and I want to really, really deliver value to the person that's watching this video that's stuck. Maybe they're a newer agent and they don't know where to find leads. They don't know how to, systemize their schedule. They don't know how to have conversations, manage objections, convert at a listing presentation. Or maybe there's an agent out there watching this that's like been here for 5, 10 years in the industry and they're plateauing. You obviously skyrocketed your career, and now you're taking your next step in your journey and moving to a much bigger, more competitive market where you're going to have bigger price point opportunities. Let's kind of break this down from the beginning. Tell us a little bit about who Victor is. How did this whole real estate journey come about? How did you get your license? Where did the idea come from? And what was your first objective when getting your license? Talk to us about that a little bit.
Yeah, so long story short, I used to paint interior and exterior homes and commercial buildings. So I was always in houses for the past, 3, 4 years of doing painting. And I've always thought after we're done with the painting project, the home looks clean, it looks nice. And I always thought, what would it feel like if I'm able to sell these houses, right? After they're done, they're finished. I was in homes that maybe were expensive, less expensive. And I'd say the biggest thing is taking a risk. And that's gonna have to play a role with your whole entire life. I met an agent at my gym, and she gave me the idea of becoming an agent. I like communicating with people. I like being personable. So I'm like, you know what? With the whole painting and with just communication, those two put together, this could be a potential role that I want to do, a career. And once I got licensed, and I want to be very clear here too, in Ohio, it took me 5 times to pass the test. And number one, that doesn't make you a good agent or a bad agent depending on your test.
I love that you're saying
What
this.
that did, what that made me show other people and myself is that I'm determined to become an agent no matter what. Obviously, I wasn't studying right in the first place. I tweaked a couple things, and then boom, I got licensed. Once I got licensed, I got put on a couple different teams, and I would transition from different brokerages or different teams depending on what I needed. And I think most people, that's the biggest thing, Alexis, is most people are afraid of what other people are going to think about them. You join a team, you join a brokerage, let's say it doesn't fit your needs. You're not getting what you need. And to be honest with you, right, how do we know what we actually need as new agents? We really don't. You don't know
Right.
what you don't know. So as I started doing real estate and I was on different teams, I started to quickly realize that working with buyers, doing open houses was a great opportunity. But based on how much time I'm putting into real estate and what I'm actually getting out of it, it wasn't fitting my needs. I'm now a part of my 4th brokerage with Keller Williams. I'm licensed in Ohio, and yes, very grateful I'm licensed in Florida as well. But the biggest thing here, guys, is if you're a newer agent or if you're just an agent that's done some deals and it's just not enough for you, you need to find either an agent who you can trust and you know is doing well and shadow them and learn from them, but also join a community. If I've never found Alexis through social media and I never hopped on a call with him and I explained my situation, and most importantly, if I never took the risk of actually joining his course and his community with money I never actually even had, I would never be in this position that I'm in right now. to be honest with
I love that you're saying this, bro, and I want to peel back the onion. I
you. Yeah,
obviously don't want to make this all about the program,
sure.
but obviously it took you from where you were, and it helped. I think it played an influence in where you're at now.
It did.
And I would love to give the opportunity to an agent watching this that wants to get more hands-on training, the opportunity to join us for sure.
Yeah.
But talk about what the first few months of real estate looked like. Did you know, because now you're specifically focused on for sale by owners and you
Yeah.
have a predictable way to generate leads every single day.
Right.
What did the first few months look like? Were you confused on where to find leads?
Of course.
What did that look like?
Yeah, it was tough. All I was taught was to do open houses. At first, all I did was open houses. I was afraid to have conversations with people. I didn't know anything about real estate, so how does it make me feel speaking to, potential buyers and trying to explain the house? What I quickly found out was that I want to get their info and I want to follow up with them. I want to be their agent and show them that I have value to finding the home they're looking for. That was step one. And then number two, after I thought, you know what, open houses just isn't cutting it, I joined a team in a brokerage who had many, many leads for buyers. It was through Zillow, through realtor.com, OpCity, things like that, if you've heard of that. So
Yep.
I started working with tons of buyers, and the buyers were great. I was having some transactions. Real estate started picking up a bit, but and then it kind of plateaued. The leads weren't really as what they seemed to be. The buyers just were not serious. There was always some kind of fear, some type of objection to overcome within the buyers. And I was just driving around all over the city, showing homes and not making any money. And it didn't feel good. I started to actually get worried about how I'm going to pay for my bills. How am I going to increase in my career in real estate? So I made the decision of actually, joining a community, being in a place where I can learn how to cold call. Most agents do not cold call because it's hard. They don't know what to say, and it takes consistency. This isn't an overnight thing. And as everybody knows, business is never overnight. So struggling with showings, with open houses, with just communication, to then transitioning into making cold calls, working with for sale by owners, and actually getting listing appointments, I knew for a fact I don't ever want to turn back. And my niche is to focus on obtaining listings and providing value to for sale by owners and potentially even expireds or other sellers as well.
So you're talking about something very important, Vic. It's about learning how to put yourself in difficult environments where you're going to learn how to have elevated communication. A lot of people run away from cold calling. A lot of people don't want to pick up the phone, call strangers, and get rejected. But what they fail to notice is that if you build an ability to communicate with strangers later on in life, when you start scaling and you want to build a team, you want to have people under you, and maybe you want to add buyers to your pipeline as well, you're going to still have to communicate with those buyers. You're still going to have to handle objections, set appointments, and be a good presenter and a good negotiator to get business. Let's talk a little bit about the community. What differences did you see in your communication skill sets when you joined the community? And what do you think for an agent watching this that might be like, you know what, I might be interested in joining a community like yours? What are some of the things that really transformed your business? Because I think a lot of people think it's like a course, right? Oh, you're going to join, you're going to watch training videos, but we know it's far from that.
Yeah.
What specific things inside the community impacted you specifically?
There's two things. I would say number one is having the right community. And what I mean by that is, me, I'm hosting the roleplay rooms every single day. We have roleplay sessions. And then after roleplays, we go into the live calling. The people who are consistently in that Zoom call, we all learn from each other. We're all practicing every single day. We're handling new objections. And so not only is it just being in the right environment, and that goes with anything, but also having a consistent schedule of doing it over and over and over again. Let me give you an example. Before I joined the community, and when I was actually still selling homes and being a listing agent as well, my communication was there, but not anywhere to where it is now, right? There's certain things that I should have said or could have said better when I'm communicating with my sellers, when I'm communicating with other agents, buyer agents, title companies, lenders. All of those things are so important to where when I've learned my communication skills in the community and I was able to put them to use in terms of getting listings, they were also getting put to use in negotiations. And like I said, dealing with everybody else that I had to communicate with at a high level, right? So people have to understand that this is something that you have to do over and over again to where when you're making your next call, you don't have to use a script anymore. When you're talking to a buyer agent or a lender, you're already communicating at a high level because you've been doing this for a good amount of time.
100%. And Vic, let's break this down because I want to give the audience some value. Obviously, I've seen you go from, again, you had a baseline level of communication, but now you've done, I think, what is it, 25, 26 deals in the last 12 months? Is
Yeah,
that the
about
number?
28, and I got some more in the pipeline.
28 deals in the last 12 months. And listen, let's fast forward 1 year and assume that you triple your price point, which is exactly
Yeah.
what's going to happen in Tampa. Tell an agent right now on the other side listening, what are some tactical tips that they can do to get started with for sale by owners? What does your schedule look like? I know that we talk a lot about making sure 80 to 90% of your time is focused on prospecting and delegating some other operational stuff.
Sure.
What is some advice that you have for an agent to start FSBOs? How do they get the leads? What is their schedule? What should it look like? And how do they start delegating if they don't have a lot of money up front?
So I think that we've learned this as well, is that simplicity scales. Okay, I think most people overcomplicate everything, and I'm gonna get into a subject a little bit out of real estate because it's also important about our mentality, our business. I try and go to the gym every single morning and do anything I can in the beginning of my day that may not be related to business and real estate. So that number one, it gets put out of the way. I'm done with it. But also because I went to the gym in the morning and I had a bunch of wins that I stacked, I'm now operating at a high frequency when I start making my calls, when I start doing my business. So number one, have some type of morning schedule and make sure that you're fueling yourself positively to prepare yourself for the day. Okay. Number two, in terms of a schedule, do not make your schedule too complicated. Okay. Depending on who you're calling, whether it's for sale by owners, whether it's expireds, make sure that you have a set amount of time that you're calling. Okay. It doesn't have to be at 12 o'clock. It doesn't have to be from 12 to 3 or 3 to 4. Make sure you're just making your calls in general every day, and make sure it's like the same amount of calls. If you're making 20 dials or 50 dials, whatever it is, continue doing it. Because if you're consistent with that amount, you're going to just start seeing conversions and conversions happening. Okay. And last thing, like I said, is if it's hard for you to do your calls alone in your office by yourself, make sure you either have an accountability partner, or if you're blessed to be in a community like the one I'm in with Alexis, obviously you can join the role play room. You can join the Zoom call with us, and we're in there every single day, almost throughout the whole entire day, making the calls. So it's almost like setting yourself up for success. And it's so easy to just be confused on what you should do, how you should do it. And so let me just go into quickly about how to actually be successful with the calls. When I first started, I had to use a script, just like most people. You don't know what to say. I had a good script that I got from Alexis. I kind of personalized it in my own way, and I would just read it. I would read it every day, throughout the day, off camera, just reading it, saying it out loud, practicing it, right? Because practice makes perfect. And so once I started getting it down, I would go into the role play rooms and I would start role playing it. I would start practicing with students, practicing with my girl, practicing with anyone that I can.
I love it.
And then, brother, you take it and you put it into the calls. Here's the thing. Everyone is afraid of rejection. And when they're making the calls, they don't know what to say. Let's say you make a call, you're using your script, and you mess up. Worst case scenario, you call them back the next day, you call them back in an hour or two. These people are getting calls all day, every day. They may forget who you even were calling. So I think the biggest thing is you have to be okay with failing and accepting rejection. You have to be okay with not succeeding on your first time. It's going to take multiple tries to actually get into a position where you're starting to see listing appointments, conversations going smoothly, making sure you have a follow-up system, things like that, right?
So let's talk about that, right? Because I think you gave us a great breakdown of what it is like to actually, get into high frequency, right? Get your mind into a place where you can go out there and call strangers and face rejection all day. Once you become developed, you role play, you make calls, you review your calls, and you're setting appointments. Now we have another big obstacles that a lot of agents hit that becomes very difficult to overcome, which is going to the listing presentation, getting to the part where you actually present your stuff and winning the business. Give us maybe 3 or 4 or 5 tips that have worked for you, because I feel like it's almost every day in the chat where you're like on the way to a listing presentation, just got another listing signed, and you're crushing it, bro. What are some things that you do when it comes to preparation and execution that separate you? Because I'm sure that these people are meeting with a few different agents and they're picking you. So what separates yourself?
Like I said, you have to make it simple. Number one, I think with any business that you're in, you have to be honest and transparent, okay? If you do your homework, you do your research, and you clearly see they're way overpriced, and you just know that that's not really attainable, you're going to have that honest conversation with them. And then obviously you're going to provide your value and show them, how they could go to the market and what actually makes sense to get them to a position to be able to receive the highest net offer. I think most agents or most people in business, they just want to tell their clients what they want to hear. I tell my clients what they probably don't want to hear, but at the end of the day, if they can understand that it's coming from my heart, they'll understand that I'm being transparent and I'm being honest, okay? And number two, when you are at a listing appointment, you do not want to over-explain the whole entire process. You want to make it very simple of explaining the market, what other homes looks like, how you're going to position their house, what value you have to provide, and then obviously it's all about the money. What are they going to walk away with most likely, right? So I just think that most people, they go into an appointment and they just start reading a whole entire booklet of information about their brokerage, about a listing presentation, all of those things, and they make it more complicated than it has to be, okay? And number three, when you are at a listing appointment and you're speaking with your clients, you want to position yourself to where you're asking them questions and they're telling you the answer. There's a big difference when you're storytelling the whole entire thing and you're not getting any feedback like a regular conversation should go. And now you just gave them a bunch of information which you don't even know if they actually understand it or not, if they actually agree with what you said. So you need those back and forth conversations of asking the questions, making sure they're on the same page, making sure they understand what's going on, and then moving on to potentially getting it signed and how all of that's going to look, right?
100%. And Vic, we talk a lot about, I want to give them some tactical examples here. We talk a lot about like micro commitments and, for example, like we have pricing strategy, compensation structure, and then the net sheet presentation. And most agents kind of just explain and go through things. This is the price that I recommend. Our commission's 3%, and here are your net numbers.
Right.
Versus we like to get micro commitments, and we like to say things like, hey, Victor, obviously since you guys are super committed to getting the most amount of money, do you guys see why pricing the home at $550 makes the most amount of sense? How do you feel about that?
Exactly.
Talk to me about some of the questions that you actually use at a listing presentation.
Sure.
To get those micro commitments, to start funneling the conversation where you're hearing them say, yes, that makes sense. Yes, that makes sense. Because I think, and I'll give you guys a tactical tip here, a lot of presenters at the end of their presentation, they'll say, hey, Victor, do you have any questions? And that is completely wrong. It opens up the conversation to many different avenues that you're no longer in control of.
Yep.
You should be asking them periodically throughout the presentation, does that make sense? Are we on the same page? Do you feel comfortable with that? What are some things that you say specifically to get those agreements?
Yeah, so let me just break down the whole entire listing presentation very, very shortly.
Let's go, bro.
So
Let's go.
I bring to them four things. I bring them the comparables, right? I bring them something called showing time, target market analysis. It's on Showing Time Plus.
Talk about it.
Everybody has access to Showing Time Plus. It's about $15 a month. Your brokerage may pay for it. You can pay for it by yourself. You go to the reports. You go to target market analysis. You can input a specific price range in the past 30 days in that specific zip code. And now you can see what activity is going on, how many buyers and their agents are actually scheduling showings based on a specific price point, okay? Then, of course, I bring a net sheet so they know after closing costs, commission fees, everything, mortgages, liens, what they're going to take home. And then we talk about the contract last because that's where they're going to be signing with me, right? So with the comparables, I think the biggest thing is most people, they'll talk about the comps and they don't ask questions like, on a scale of 1 to 10, what do you think this home is at based on a 1 to 10 scale, okay? And after you go through each house, you now go back and say, okay, do you think this home is better or worse than yours? And when you go through that process of them telling you, and without them even seeing the price, they see this house looks better, this house looks worse, you now tell them the price, and then they're like, okay, this price is higher than mine, and it's nicer than mine, or this is lower than mine, and it's not as good. So you are now positioning yourself and your clients in a way where you guys are on the same page asking, do you think that this home with this amount of upgrades are actually better or worse than yours? So there's no way they can now go back later and say, well, this house is nicer, but it should be priced, lower than ours, and it's not. The market speaks for itself, okay? And that's what we have to go by. Number two, the showing time strategy. I ask my clients based on these price points and these brackets. Obviously, we're going to know what bracket they're in. With how many showings, which bracket would they prefer to be listed at to bring in the most amount of buyers and showings? If they're choosing a bracket that they obviously see has a lot more showings, they're understanding that they want as many buyers to walk through their home, okay? We're not going to overprice it, even if that number of showings is actually more than where we should be. I use it just to kind of gauge where we could be priced at based on how many showings, not for them to just choose the highest price point that has the highest showings possible. It has to make sense and compare to your comparables. That's why I do both of those first, okay? Then we move on to the actual net sheet. I simply am very transparent about my commission, potentially, of course, having to negotiate a buyer agent commission as well, going over closing costs, and then obviously making sure that they have a lien or don't have a lien, and if that's involved as well. I give them 3 different scenarios: best case, what I actually think, and worst case scenario. So let's say if they're happy with that worst case scenario, I know we have a great understanding that we're going to position their home in the best way possible, and we have a little bit of negotiating, room to negotiate, okay? And last but not least, you have to make sure they understand your contract. You never want to go ahead and have them sign something, and then in the middle of the whole process or at the closing table, they're confused about something on the contract, or they say, well, Victor, you actually never told us about this or X, Y, and Z. So I go through the whole contract, and I'm asking them questions and asking, does this make sense? Are you guys okay with this? Does this fit your needs? And if I get those micro commitments and they sign it, then I know we're both on the same page with the commission, the way we're going to structure their home, position it, and of course, how long we're going to put it on the market for. And that's it. I make it very simple, and I'm very honest and transparent about the whole entire presentation, to where I'm making sure they're committing to me by saying yes or no. And if they have any questions or objections, we handle it right there and then. We don't wait until the whole entire presentation is done, and then they tell me they have an objection about X, Y, and Z.
I think something very important, Vic, about our process and your process is that since you have a system now, and you know that even if you get a no today, you're going to get back on the phones tomorrow, you're going to go to another presentation, it gives you the ability to not be so attached to the sale and not be so reactive. Like a lot of people are so under pressure, and they have commission breath, and they make the seller feel like they really need the sale. And obviously, look, bro, we've both been in situations where we need the money. Talk a little bit about your energy at the appointment, right? Making them feel, because the whole thing that I talk about all the time is like, if you want to get the appointment to sign with you, you need to get the truth. You need to get their real motivation. You need to get them to trust you. And in order for them to trust you, they have to feel comfortable in your presence, in your energy. You can't be salesy. You can't give off that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Talk about your mindset at the presentation. Are you attached to the deal? Are you detached from the deal? What does that look like for you? Because I think that's the biggest X factor that helps us get deals.
No, you're 100% right. This goes, this is the same thing with our calls, right? If we make a call and it doesn't go well, or we have a bad call and they maybe tell us to F off or something bad happens, for some people that can ruin their day. That can ruin the next 10 calls. Instead of just saying, okay, you know what? Maybe that client wasn't for me, or I wasn't for that client. That's okay. We're going to continue pushing. Same thing with the appointments. I try to make sure that, I'm nice, I'm personable, but I have conviction and I have confidence in what I'm presenting, how I'm speaking, being respectful, and trying to, crack some jokes, just trying to be myself. I don't have to act or pretend like I'm someone I'm not, because at the end of the day, Alexis, and you can understand too and agree, is that someone is hiring you because of you, the type of person you are, how you're going to present their home, how you speak to them, how you're going to speak to the other agents. They're hiring you because of you. So I would say when you're at the appointment, be respectful, make sure that you understand what they're looking for, what their motivation is, and tie in the motivation to the actual solution and what they can actually get out of the whole entire deal at the end of the day. So that's what I would say. Make sure you're just detached from the entire outcome, because if you go into a call or an appointment thinking that if you don't get this, then your life is ruined, then you're going to have a hard time doing real estate or any other business. You have to understand that if today they tell me no, or if I don't get it right now in this second, it's okay. I'm going to go and get more appointments. I'm going to go and make more calls. But more importantly, remember, we get to choose who we work with, and obviously so do they. So if it's not a good fit, then it's not a good fit. It wasn't meant to be. You guys have to understand that that's how it's going to be sometimes.
And your thought process leads me to another point. I think realtors are like, they're so shiny object syndrome. If this doesn't work this week, I'm going to do something else. If I can't get FSBOs to convert, I'm going to do open houses. If open houses don't work out, I'm going to bounce to expireds. I think you've committed to one sales process.
Yeah.
And in sales, we were talking about this in the chat yesterday with Vanessa. You know, she asked, how do I get past rejection? And I don't think it's about getting past rejection. I think it's about learning how to live with it, learning how to understand that it's a recipe to success. If you don't have rejection, if you don't have a bad week, a bad month, and you don't know what being in the low is like, you're never going to understand how good being in the high is. And that's just sales. Some people want to get to a point where it's comfortable, and sales is never going to be comfortable. It's always going to be uncomfortable. This has been amazing, Vic. I don't want to extend it too long. I want to keep it compact. I think you've given so many gems. Let's kind of wrap it up with a couple things here.
Sure.
Some of your best closing lines on the phone. Give me a couple things that you say to set the appointment on the phone.
Yeah, so I'll use this a lot of times because at the end of the day, it's less pressure. It's less salesy, less pressure. And I would say something like this. Listen, Alexis, I understand you're doing for sale by owner for a specific reason. You're looking to save on the commissions, net as much money as possible. I know you think doing for sale by owner right now is just the best route for you, and I definitely respect it. At the end of the day, if an agent like myself was to come by and put this strategy in front of you where there's no obligations and you saw that it was going to bring you a better result, would you say it would be a terrible idea for me to show you this and then you can use this as a plan B and put it in your back pocket? So when you are ready to potentially list or interview agents, you've already met with one that you know their strategy makes sense for you.
I mean, when you say it that way, you know, Victor, obviously it doesn't sound like a horrible idea. I mean, what kind of guarantee are you making to me that you can sell my house for more money?
Yeah, Alexis, I mean, there's never a guarantee in real estate. I'll be very transparent with you about that. The only thing I can do is negotiate at a high level, communicate at a high level, and position your home to be the number one option for these buyers and their agents. At the end of the day, I think you can agree with me. Real estate is not it's not an event, it's a process. And so if we're able to put this into a specific process with the right marketing and the sales, we're going to expose your home to the most amount of eyes. And my job is to communicate to make sure your home is the best option for them. So at the end of the day, I mean, would you agree that if we implement all of these tactics, we're going to bring in a better result for you?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I don't see any downside to you coming over, but I'm not gonna sign anything on the spot, Victor.
Alexis, I mean, I think we can both be honest with each other. You're never going to sign anything unless it 100% made sense to you and you felt confident that I was the right agent for you, correct?
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm not going to sign anything, but I do see what you're saying, and I would like the opportunity to at least, you know, sit down and ask you some questions. When can you come
that sounds
by?
good. Yeah. And listen,
I love it, bro.
and you have to understand, you got to lean out because a lot of us, as soon as they lean in and they want to give us the appointment, we get so excited and wanting to meet with them. We have to make sure to let them know, like, listen, Alexis, I'm not sure if I'm even the right agent for you. Mm-hmm. I've never seen the home. I've never met with you. You're obviously not going to make a decision over the phone, even if I explain everything to you, right?
Right.
So I would say I use those lines very often to try to make it less salesy, less pressure, and that at the end of the day, they'll be honest with me and let me know if this makes sense or not. We'll shake hands. I'll leave them with that information, and we'll go about our days, you know?
Yep. And I think to come back to the program real quick, Vic, the importance of having, because I was a new agent at one point in 2020, and I was role playing with agents that had no idea what they were doing. The importance of being in a community where you're going to be in a role play room, a cold call room with people like yourself, people
Yeah.
like Matt, people like Austin, people like Pedro, every single day getting better. It's so important. And I want to emphasize this to you if you're watching and you're maybe interested. There's a book a call link right below. The most expensive thing that you guys can own right now in your situation as a new agent or a plateaued agent is a closed mind. Okay, the amount of money, and Victor can attest, the amount of money that it costs you guys to make an investment in your skill sets is a fraction of what it's costing you right now, not having the information, not having the tools to close deals on a monthly basis. If you were closing 2 to 3 deals in whatever market you're in, you're talking about anywhere from $7,000 to $15,000, $20,000 in commissions. A coaching program is a one-time investment of a fraction of one deal.
Yep.
So if you're stuck, if you don't have the information, if you don't have the people around you, all I would suggest is booking the call, asking questions, and then making the decision that you feel is the best for you. Because again, Vic, I'm not here to take full credit, bro, but I know that what we built is special. And something very important that I put on Instagram, this isn't a fucking course, bro. We're all friends. You're like a brother to me. We hang out. We fly across the country to see each other and pour into each other on the personal side as well. And dude, I appreciate you doing this. I want to leave them with one more tactical tip. Give me your absolute best closing line at a listing appointment. You just finished presenting. How do you ask for the business?
Yeah. So listen, Alexis, I mean, based on everything that we just went over, it seems that we're on the same page about how we're going to price your home, how we're going to market it. And at the end of the day, you feel very confident with the take-home value based on the net sheet. The next question is really, when would you like me to start? When would you like me to put me to work?
I love that. And that question right there is confident, it's conviction. And by the way, you're not assuming the sale because you've already gotten the sale before. They've said yes, yes, yes to everything.
Exactly.
What's going to happen there is, yeah, okay, Victor, let's do this. A couple questions, or yes, but I have to think about it. Yes, but, etc. And we could probably do another video where we do an objection handling masterclass. I think you've given so much context to everybody. Thank you for taking your time, bro. I want to ask you this, bro, so we can come back and look at this video. You obviously have started your coaching career as well. You're obviously a master communicator and you're only going to get better. What do the next 5 years look for Victor? What do you want to be doing in 5 years? Yeah,
that's a great question. I think the next 5 to 10 years, I'm going to already be moved to Tampa this year. I'm going to continue doing coaching. I'm going to offer my skills, my value that I have to, other agents that need some help. But I'm gonna be a top producing agent in Tampa, Florida. That's for sure. And honestly, like right now, for example, I have a good amount of properties under contract, active on the market as well. And so I'm just going to continue doing everything I can in my power to not only implement these systems, but hire a transaction coordinator, hire a VA, and just continue doing everything I can to pour back into your community, into other communities, and just being able to help as many agents as possible and just continue growing.
Let's go, Victor. I love it. If we have your permission, we'll post your social medias down below. That way people can connect with you. If you had 30 seconds to share one piece of advice with a new agent that can take them from not closing any deals to making their first $100,000 in commissions, 30 seconds, what would you have to say to that agent?
I would say you have to learn how to deal with failure. You want to be able to go through failure sooner rather than later. And you obviously have to make sure that you're disciplined enough, not only in real estate, but in your real life as well, to be able to position yourself to just be the best version of yourself. If you're not striving to be better than you were yesterday than you are today, then how do you expect to get better every single day?
That's it, brother. Dude, I appreciate this. There's nobody else that I would have thought of would have been a better fit for episode number 1 of this series on YouTube. Whether this impacts 10 people, 100 people, or 1,000 people, we're changing lives. We're helping people move forward. For those that don't know, in 2019, I was carrying golf bags, doing Uber Eats, DoorDash, Instacart. You've had your struggles, and now we're doing better than most, and it's thanks to the communication skills that we've built. So 100%. Thank you for doing this, bro. It's going to make an impact on some people, and maybe we might even find our next group of students that join the program, bro.
Let's do it. Looking forward to it.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Bro. Thank you.
Talk soon.